Welcome to the Inflection Podcast, where we explore the pivotal moments that have shaped us into who we are today. I am your host, Anebi, and I can't wait to dive into these moments with you. Let's get it. Welcome to another episode of the Inflection Podcast. I am pleased to have here with me today Rebecca Clyde of Botco.ai. Thank you so much for coming on with me, Rebecca.
Thank you, Anebi. I appreciate the opportunity and love the Inflection Podcast. What you're building here is great.
Oh my gosh, that means so much to me right now. And when I came across you years ago, and I think we've been in similar circles, events, and all of that stuff. And I was pretty impressed, right, with your drive and a lot of the things you've been doing in the community. Your work with Botco, Ideas Collide. You worked at Intel back in the day. Coming to sound native. Back in the day, Intel. And so many other things you've done out here in the Valley. And I would like to dive into that a little bit more, right? What that journey has looked like. Has that always been the case? Did you always know, hey, I want to go this entrepreneurship route and make things happen? Or was it just a
No,
series of
honestly,
events?
I did not even know. When I graduated from college, the only thing I knew I was supposed to do was get a job with a Fortune 500 company. That's what my older siblings had done. That's what everybody told me I was supposed to do. So senior year of college, I was just like, okay, interview with all the Fortune 500 companies that come to town, come to campus, see which one I like best, go work with them. But that was really all I knew I was supposed to do, honestly. The entrepreneurship journey came later through my experience working at Intel and in that Fortune 500 setting.
Awesome. So would you say at Intel, you became more like an entrepreneur and then found that passion while there and eventually struck off on your own?
Not really. I would say I worked in marketing and I got the opportunity to work within the Internet of Things group.
Ooh
It
la
was called
la.
Other Things back then. Intel was really at an interesting stage where we were really building out what the future looked like. And that was something I loved doing. It was so cool that Intel would study behavior patterns, technologies, and really try to envision what was going to be needed for the next 10 or 20 years. There was a lot of strategic thinking like that. And that was an exercise I really loved. And I learned it from my colleagues at Intel. And so Intel was ages ago already working on what will telehealth look like? What will digital health look? What will
Wow.
5G look like? What will all of these connected devices create opportunities in the world for? And so I was in those conversations. And that's when I really started to think about, wow, Intel is creating these amazing, is in creating the processing power, the compute to create all of these new and exciting experiences that we couldn't even have imagined before. And that was really, I think, the seed of entrepreneurship in me. And we would bring on these startups. For example, I got to work with a bunch of digital health startups. We brought them to CES and we were showcasing them as the future of healthcare, for example. And then I started talking to founders and meeting these really cool companies that were really bringing to fruition that vision. And I think that's really where that seed of entrepreneurship was planted in me at the time.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And from Intel, ideas collide. I- How does one even make that leap, right? So Intel, you did a few things and then you co-founded Ideas Collide out in the Valley. What was the seed for Ideas Collide for you?
By then, I had worked at Intel 8 years and had quite a bit of experience under my belt. And one of the things I learned was that I could probably make more money not working at Intel.
Surprise.
And so I was working really hard. I was applying myself, working on these big projects, but I noticed that the vendors and the contractors that we paid got paid a lot more. And so I was like, interesting. And so I just put that away as, maybe I'll figure something out here. And so I was on maternity leave at one point. So I'd had my second child. I was on sabbatical from Intel. And so I had kind of a little bit of a break, 6 months from my day-to-day work where really I was able to open up my thought process to new kinds of things. And it was right around then that a former colleague reached out and said, hey, I need help with these project, and it happened to be something I was very skilled at because I had been doing it for years and years at Intel. And I realized when he told me what they were willing to pay for me to do that, I was like, okay,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
getting paid to do that at Intel for much less. Why don't I go get paid to do that as a consultant for you for much more? And so that's what was the impetus for me leaving Intel. As much as I loved it and had a wonderful experience there, I had reached that point where I realized, hey, to really continue to grow in my career, I was going to have to leave, and I was going to have to really go out on my own and build a new kind of business that could capitalize on the skills that I had created and build a team around me that could take advantage of that.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And I think that speaks to a core tenet, right, or trait for entrepreneurs. And it's this idea of leaving what's comfortable. Sometimes it's really bad, so having a 95 and all of that. But there is a sense of being able to step away beyond to the wild west of entrepreneurship. There is gold in them hills and going after that. And there is something I talk with quite a few people about. And when I did the Alt MBA in 2019, Seth Godin's Alt MBA program, this was a repeating theme as well. And it's the concept of fear, right? We
Hmm.
all feel the fear, but in spite of it, you and that's something I've struggled with over the years because I thought the greatest entrepreneurs out there have no fear. They just go to get it done. But realizing that they probably feel a sense of fear as well, but they've just learned again and again to tell the fear to take the back seat and take some more control. So, what has that looked like for you? Because ideas collide. You've had quite an illustrious career, right? Ideas Collide, advisor on multiple startups. You're affiliated with the AZ Tech
Tech Council.
Council. Yeah,
Mhm.
so all of these things. But what has that looked like for you, pioneering in all these different spheres and winning with fear, effectively?
Yeah, I would say maybe I'm wired a little bit differently, or maybe I didn't feel it that same way. I actually I felt like I had more control over my destiny if I was an owner of my business and if I was controlling that source of income directly.
Yeah,
At big companies, and I had seen this many times, layoffs, budget cuts, and you could be doing the best job in the world. You could be the top performer of a team. But if the company decides strategically that they don't want that product anymore or they don't want that division anymore, even the best performers end up leaving. And I saw that happen many
fortunately.
times. So I didn't necessarily feel like being at a Fortune 500 company was in any way safe. I never bought that narrative. I always thought like we do layoffs every 2 years. This is totally not safe.
Yeah,
Why would I think this is a safe place to be? Right. So I
Russian
didn't
roulette.
feel, yeah, exactly. It's just like you just happen to be lucky that you're in one division that got cut off, that didn't get eliminated. Good for you. That's just luck. But what I did feel actually more safe in was controlling my destiny. And I think knowing that I had confidence in my skills and confidence in my ability to build those relationships and to build something from nothing, because I had done it before in some ways, that I felt more safe in. I trusted my own abilities more than my destiny at the hands of a spreadsheet at a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. What would you say unique experiences for you, right? As a Latinx woman in tech, building these reputable companies and scaling them. I'm sure you have plenty unique experiences there, but which of those experiences would you say have shaped uniquely your leadership style and business?
Wow, there's a lot there.
Yeah, a lot to unpack, and it's broad on
Yes,
purpose.
sure, sure. So I would say culturally, I think probably one of the things that drives me the most is this keen sense of community and family, right? That's like at the core of who we are as a people. And so even in terms of how I think about our product or how I think about our solution, right now we're really applying generative AI to facilitate these kinds of personalized, engaging, and accurate conversations. And many of our customers are in healthcare. So that's something that we really focus on right now. I think about it in terms of who are the families that are benefiting from this product or service, right? Every day, that's like at the core of what I do because that's just the value system I was raised with is that
Yeah,
family is the most important thing. And if my product can help families get better access to care, have not lose their loved ones and be able to have a more enriched life together, then I feel like I have purpose and that what I'm bringing to the world matters. I also think a lot about community and what are we my way of moving around the world is in building community and participating in communities, contributing in community. So you're going to see me, people are going to say, Rebecca, why are you involved in so many things? Like, why are you part of this organization and that organization? That the tech, you called out the Tech Council and HIMS is another organization I'm a part of, and a few others, the Go Red executive leadership team. Because for me, as community is essential. It is like oxygen to me. And without community and without those relationships around me of being able to contribute and also being able to get support, because it goes both ways,
Yeah.
I think that I wouldn't know how to exist without that. So I think those are two cultural components that really drive a lot of my, that I move in the way that I lead. And so I wouldn't know how to do it without those things.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And along those lines, you and I are passionate about the ecosystem here in Arizona, the tech ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, and you've done more than many, more than most to support a thriving ecosystem. But that said, what are certain opportunities, right, in the, let's even say 5 or so years out here, or let me even say, preface that with untapped opportunities in the coming years here?
Wow, Anebi, I really look forward to the day when the startup ecosystem, the funding ecosystem, and just the funding dollars that are going to startup here match the demographics of our state. And I think what people forget often is that 38%, or maybe even more, close to 40% of Arizonans are of Latino heritage. I mean,
Wow.
think about that for a minute. Okay, which means if half of them are women, 20%, half of those 20% are women like me.
Yeah.
Why do I continue to be the only Latina who has been funded at this level and who is showing up to these events? Why? I do not understand. It is not because we're not here. It is not because we don't have businesses or we're not trying or we're not participating. It's that there is, for whatever reason, an inability for the system to see these women, to see my fellow sisters and brothers, and to support them. And I still to this day am perplexed. It's not because we're not here, it's because we're not being seen. And it's not just Latinas that are not being seen, it's all people of color that are being underrepresented severely within this startup ecosystem. And I don't understand why, because there's so much dynamic energy and passion and great ideas and just bootstrappiness, like that is everything, all the ingredients you want in an entrepreneur exist among our people, but they're just not being tapped. So to me, that is the biggest the biggest unlock
Mm.
that is yet to be delivered. And if you talk to people like Maggie Sanchez, we represent trillions of dollars of GDP that we could be contributing to this economy if we were supported in the same way as our counterpart. So to me, that is the challenge. And it's because we see the world differently. We know opportunities that exist that other people are just not going to see. And we're the ones who are going to deliver those.
Absolutely. Right on. And it's something that in the past 10 years of being out here in Arizona, I've seen the landscape is already evolving. There's some more dollars, VC dollars coming in, at least if you look
Yeah.
timeline, but still not nearly enough. So I'm very curious to see as it continues to evolve and people advocates like you speaking out for about these things and exposing them so we can have those
Mhm.
conversations and address them.
And the dollars are coming in, but the problem is the allocation is not representative
Yeah.
and it is not showing up on the other side the way that I think could be.
Absolutely. What is one thing, or if you know now, or that you wish you knew when you started your journey, your entrepreneurial journey?
Wow, I didn't know anything. So that list
Everything.
is everything. Oh gosh. I think the most important thing I've learned along the way is this is really a head game. And by that, what I mean is that It's truly a psychological experiment on all of our parts, right? So it's every person, I believe, has great ideas and great potential, right? But the question is, do we believe in those ideas sufficiently and
Mm,
do to almost a, I always call like a almost to an unreasonable level to be able to put the energy behind to bring see it to bring it up to life. And that is what every day we have to have an idea that you just jump out of your bed and say, I'm so glad today is a new day because now I get to continue to bring this idea to fruition and to bring it to life. And I believe that people have that somewhere in them, but not everybody knows how to and make it work.
yeah.
And so that's the one thing, and it's about finding that thing and believing in it and putting passion behind it, because every day in entrepreneurship is a struggle. Every single day there's
Oh
a
my
challenge.
gosh.
Every day a surprise, like, "Where did this thing come from? I thought we were" every day. Like, there are no there's just a level of how many of those you got in one day. You might have 30 or 10, but you're not ever gonna have 0.
Yeah.
And having that belief and that conviction and that mission is what gets you through those days and gets you through all of those hurdles and speed bumps that are just going to be relentlessly hitting us. And it's all about psychology. It's all about not just seeing the problems, but also seeing the glimmers and seeing all of the positivity that is also happening. Like for me, honestly, like when I see our customers talk about when they use our product, they talk about in especially in behavioral health, they talk about this idea of a rescue. So what they say when somebody comes onto the chat and successfully completes a chat and now is in treatment and is able to get the care that they need, we call that a rescue in behavioral health.
Uh,
And that hit me to my core, Anebi, because I'm not just facilitating a technology that makes life easier. I'm facilitating a technology that makes life possible to continue for some people. And that's a huge responsibility. And so every morning when I wake up, I'm like, how many people are we rescuing today? And
that's
that's what we're
amazing.
working for.
And that's a very great anchoring North Star, or at
Yeah.
least one of them, to look at it from that perspective for how many people you're rescuing today. Wow, that's a good one. And with what you were saying earlier as well, uh, for me, one of the things, the word is pattern recognition for
Yeah.
a lot of being able to recognize those patterns for the
Hmm.
opportunities right in front of us, the things to grab with both hands and work on.
Yeah.
Or again, as you go through entrepreneurship, just the more experience you have, I think your pattern recognition gets a lot more dialed in. You're like, oh, I've
Yeah.
seen that before, and this is how it's going to go. It's like deja vu. The more of that, and that's in my relatively shorter years of entrepreneurship, that's something I have learned. And also with a lot of people, like you were saying, like there's so many people with great ideas and things that could be working on, like value that could be adding to the world. Chasm between the innate talent or the prospects or potential, but there's a chasm between that and being able to ship that out or know how to bring that to fruition. And for me, that's another
Hmm.
opportunity to add value, to help people get from here are the possibilities, yes, here's how you can hit the ground running. 0 to 1. Put
Yeah.
it on the pad. Here's how you do it. Now go for it. You have all the talents already. Just do it, right? Here's a pathway. And it's always exciting to see the light of recognition. So it's, oh, that's how I do it. So that's always exciting for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And at the beginning with a startup, there's a lot of, I would say, trying different things, right? So you try this, we try that, we try the other. And sometimes it can feel very frustrating because we're trying to get to that point of where things start to look the same, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love is that I'm at that point where I've sat on a couple of customer calls just in the last couple of weeks. And I always do. It's not like I never do, but and I'm starting to have is the, in fact, I feel like I'm in the same meeting every time now where I'm like, wait, didn't we have this? Oh no, it was a different company. And I'm like, this is the exact conversation we had with the other business. And it's almost creating this, wait, deja vu. Did I
Yep.
imagine? Like, why am I having the exact same conversation every time? And that's actually a good thing, right? Because now
Yeah.
the sales calls, sound the same. The problems they're articulating, they all pretty much sound very similar. There's sometimes a little bit of a difference in terms of maybe more of this and then more than that, but it's like the same three things, maybe just in a different order, right?
Yeah.
For the customer. And so it's getting to that point where, and in fact, one of my yesterday, I made that horrible faux pas where you mistakenly called somebody the name of another company because it was literally the same call as this other company.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
okay, it's getting so similar. I can't even tell the difference what call I'm on.
Yeah, the different dimension in time, very differently now.
So I'm like, oh, I better not go to these calls anymore. I'm going to mess them up more than help them.
I wonder if that speaks to another thing too. I wonder if that's also how you know for sure now you have PMF, right? If you weren't certain before, because your personas, your customer personas that
Yeah.
come in very similar. So either PMF or your sales is just super dialed in where, yep, similar persona, they all need you. That's what they have in common. So that's very interesting. You share that. Oh man.
Oh yeah, yep. And but one thing I should comment about product market fit, I think we have this illusion that you arrive at it and now you're there, but the market is always changing, right?
Mm,
That's the thing we have to
true.
remember is that we live in a
True.
dynamic world that is always changing. And
So you don't
we can have
automatically
product
arrive and,
and you're
"Oh, you're
there. It's like,
here."
oh, I'm at the top of the mountain forever, right? No,
Yeah,
the
that's
world
true.
shifts around us every single day. And so we have to keep our radar on of what is happening in the world that is maybe adjusting and make sure that we're as a company adjusting. So I would just add that one comment. It feels good to arrive there, but let's not get, complacent either,
Yeah,
right? Because it could
100%.
change in 3 months or 6 months or who knows.
And history, right, shows us so many cautionary tales of companies that supposedly arrived at this mountain of, yay, PMF, right? Suckers. And then we see what happens, right? They
Yeah.
lose market share and now they've gone the way of the dinosaurs. 100%. What future tech trend or trend excite you most and why? I feel like I know what you're gonna say, but let's
Obviously, generative AI. I'm not. Why else would I care about anything else? No, along those lines, I think I always think about technology as a response to human need, right? And the reason why it's so exciting is because finally, going back to like my Intel days when we were working on Moore's Law and compute and scaling computational power and all of these efficiencies that we were driving down into the microprocessing industry, that is creating the world that we can now have available to us.
like yeah.
And of course, now there's other players like NVIDIA and many other great ones too. But the point I'm making is that all of these things have come together to create this opportunity for us. And now all of a sudden, there's these trends happening in the world. Our population is aging, the workforce is getting smaller, right?
Yep.
Those are just realities. We're having fewer children as we become more, I would say, modern, or I don't know, higher incomes, we're actually having less children, not more. So that means that the next generations of workforces are going to be smaller. And that means we're going to be more reliant on technology. And we have to be more reliant on technology because we're not going to have as many people to do all the jobs that we used to when the baby boomers were coming through.
Yeah.
So we have to think about really what this new dichotomy of like technology assisted work, right? Augmentation through AI. Like, how do we put the power of AI in the hands of our workforce so they can operate at a much higher level of skill and at the highest level of their critical thinking and abilities, and then use technology to do all of the busy work?
Yeah.
And so that
Absolutely.
really excites me because I don't think anybody loves doing some of these busy work jobs. I think most people would rather think more strategically, think more creatively, really be problem solving. And again, operating at the higher level of their certification or credentials, not at the lowest level. And that really excites me as a professional. I think as just a tech person in general that has worked in technology my entire career, that's what I'm really excited about.
I love it. And I really love that perspective, right? Of looking at tech and particularly AI as something that can help with the lower level automations, the what we like to call like the busy work, the menial things that eat away from you really adding value and working at a higher level. So I'm all for it. I'm already using more AI in my workflow, and I'm seeing efficiencies already. And I wouldn't even consider myself an expert, right? I'm learning, and there's just so many different tools that abstract away a lot of the complexities, right? AI working like crazy under the
Yeah.
hood, but super easy to use, and just getting a taste of that alone, it's addictive. Like, never want to work the same way again and spend 3 hours doing something that I could do in 20 minutes and then focus on other things like conversations with Rebecca.
I'm glad I'm that.
Yeah. Oh, man. But no, this has been fantastic. You've added a lot of good insights here. But what is a piece of advice? And this is again open ended on purpose. You would give to those that are looking to step forth. Maybe they're employed, they want to start a side hustle, start a company. They have all these crazy ideas colliding. That's what I did there in their head. And I want to bring it to fruition. From your experience, it could be speaking to women, minorities, or really whoever, right? What would you say? What would you share for such a person, or some things you would share?
I would say, and this is actually something that I hear a lot from folks. It's not my own idea, but it's this idea that technology for technology's sake or a cool gizmo gadget invention only has value as a business if there's a big enough group of people willing to pay for it. And so I would say test that concept, make sure that you have at least some validation from the market that there is a demand for what you're providing and that people are willing to pay for it, or eventually will be willing to pay for it. Because that's what a business really is. A business is constructed of people over here, somebody, offering a product or service and somebody willing to pay for that product or service.
Yeah.
That's what a business is at its most basic sense.
Yeah.
In there's no other definition of it, right? Unless you're a research-based institution that just operates off of government grants and all you're doing is providing research, that's different, right? But if the goal is to build a business, then that's the goal. And that's always the struggle, right? Is finding that thing and finding that perfect blend of enough product, but not too much, right? And a big enough market that will be willing to really get excited about that product.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate you jumping on, and I look forward to more convos and collaborations with you.
Absolutely. Thank for you for having me on the Inflection Podcast, Anebi. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.